The Middle East is now confronting one of the most complex and dangerous escalations seen in decades, as Iran launched a sweeping retaliatory military campaign across the region targeting United States bases and allied strategic facilities following coordinated American and Israeli strikes on Iranian territory, turning what initially appeared to be a contained military exchange into a rapidly widening regional crisis with far-reaching global implications. Iranian authorities declared that the earlier attacks against their military infrastructure, missile development centers, and defense compounds represented a direct assault on national sovereignty and security, arguing that failure to respond decisively would invite further aggression. And within hours, Iranian forces initiated coordinated waves of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and armed drones aimed at American military installations across multiple countries including Qatar, Bahrain, Iraq, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, areas that collectively host tens of thousands of U.S. personnel and serve as critical command and logistics hubs for operations throughout the Middle East. As projectiles crossed regional skies, advanced air defense systems were activated almost simultaneously across several nations, producing dramatic scenes of interceptions illuminating the night as explosions echoed over major cities, while emergency alerts urged civilians to remain indoors, highlighting how modern warfare increasingly unfolds within reach of civilian populations rather than distant battlefields. Reports indicated attempted strikes near strategically vital locations, such as the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain and zones surrounding Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Widely recognized as the largest American military installation in the region and a central node for air operations, though defense officials stated that a significant number of incoming missiles were intercepted successfully, underscoring both the scale of the attack and the technological race between offensive missile capabilities and defensive interception systems that defines contemporary military strategy. Iranian commanders described the operation as a calibrated response intended not only to retaliate, but also to restore deterrence by demonstrating the ability to strike multiple targets simultaneously across a wide geographic area, signaling that future attacks against Iranian territory would carry regional consequences, while U.S. officials emphasized that their forces remained operational and prepared to defend allies, warning that additional escalation could provoke further countermeasures. The confrontation quickly produced ripple effects beyond military objectives, disrupting civilian aviation as several Gulf nations temporarily closed or restricted airspace, airlines suspended or rerouted flights, and thousands of passengers experienced cancellations, illustrating how geopolitical crises instantly affect global mobility and commerce. Energy markets reacted with volatility as traders assessed risks to oil production facilities and shipping routes, particularly those connected to vital maritime corridors through which a large percentage of global energy supplies pass, raising fears that prolonged instability could drive fuel prices higher and contribute to worldwide economic pressure. Inside Iran, authorities implemented emergency domestic policies aimed at maintaining social stability, including closing schools and universities, limiting government office operations, reinforcing urban air defense systems, and reassuring citizens that food supplies, fuel reserves, and essential medical services remain sufficient, while urging the public not to engage in panic buying and emphasizing that contingency planning had been underway amid rising tensions. Communication restrictions and extensive internet disruptions complicated independent verification of events, creating an atmosphere where official announcements, fragmented eyewitness reports, and speculation competed for public attention. Yet observers noted a complex range of public reactions, with some citizens expressing national unity in the face of external threats, while others voiced concern that extended conflict could deepen economic hardship and limit future opportunities, revealing the human dimension often overshadowed by strategic analysis. Across the broader region, governments elevated military readiness levels, deployed additional defensive assets, and issued continuous safety advisories, reflecting fears that miscalculation or accidental escalation could pull additional states into direct confrontation, especially given overlapping alliances and defense agreements that bind regional actors together. Analysts argue that this escalation represents a strategic shift away from proxy confrontations toward more direct state-to-state signaling, where attacks are designed not only to cause damage, but also to communicate capability, resolve, and political intent, increasing the stakes for all parties involved. The timing of the crisis has drawn particular attention because it followed closely after indirect diplomatic talks intended to reduce tensions surrounding nuclear negotiations, highlighting how fragile diplomatic progress can collapse rapidly when military actions dominate decision-making and raising uncertainty about whether negotiations can resume under conditions of active confrontation. International leaders have issued calls for restraint, warning that continued escalation risks destabilizing not only the Middle East but also global security systems. As major powers monitor developments carefully to avoid broader confrontation while safeguarding strategic interests and alliances, humanitarian organizations warn that even without large-scale ground warfare, prolonged instability can generate psychological stress, economic disruption, and long-term social consequences for civilians living under persistent threat alerts, emphasizing that modern conflicts reshape societies in ways that extend far beyond immediate military outcomes. Financial institutions, defense analysts, and policymakers worldwide are closely tracking developments, aware that instability in the Middle East historically produces ripple effects across currency markets, investment confidence, inflation trends, and international trade networks, turning regional crises into global economic concerns. Meanwhile, military forces across the region remain on heightened alert, conducting surveillance operations, reinforcing defensive positions, and preparing contingency plans while governments advise citizens to remain calm but vigilant, creating an atmosphere in which everyday life continues alongside constant awareness of potential escalation. Experts caution that the greatest risk may arise from unintended escalation caused by misinterpretation of defensive actions, technical malfunction, or rapid retaliatory decisions made under pressure, factors that historically have transformed limited conflicts into prolonged wars. As sirens, missile interceptions, and emergency announcements become recurring experiences across multiple countries, millions of civilians now live amid uncertainty, balancing daily routines with concerns about safety and stability while diplomatic channels struggle to keep pace with military developments. The coming days and weeks are widely viewed as decisive, as continued retaliation could solidify a cycle of confrontation that becomes increasingly difficult to reverse, whereas renewed diplomatic engagement might still prevent wider conflict, leaving the international community watching closely as events unfold in real time, aware that decisions taken during this critical period could reshape regional alliances, redefine global power balances, influence energy security, and determine the future trajectory of international relations for years to come, making this confrontation not merely a regional crisis, but a defining geopolitical moment whose consequences may resonate far beyond the Middle East for generations.